Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Super Pitfall, brought to us by Activision. Super Pitfall, a part of the Pitfall series originally seen on the Atari 2600, Super Pitfall was actually created by a Japanese company, and was actually kind of a reworked version of Pitfall 2, The Lost Caverns, which was also available on the Atari 2600. In the game, you play as Pitfall Harry, as he's trying to get the Raj Diamond as well as save his niece, and his partner Quickclaw the lion. Being a very early NES title, there are some issues with the game overall. Comparisons to Mario due to the fact that Harry really does look like Mario, as well as to some of the really clunky and glitchy gameplay, doesn't make Super Pitfall the most memorable game. So here we go with Super Pitfall for the NES. You can actually play the game 1 or 2 player with you alternating taking turns. When you start off the game, you're dropped down and immediately you have to avoid the very first ladder you come to because it's actually a trap and you'll fall right down to your first death. As Pitfall Harry, you have a gun that you can use, but it has a limited amount of ammo. Thankfully, of course, you can pick up more ammo along the way. Most enemies in the game only take one bullet to take out, but there are a few later on in the game that take a couple of bullets. In order to make it through the game, you'll need suit cards, basically just a card with a different suit on it, such as a heart or a spade, in order to actually unlock certain areas of the cave so you can continue onwards. Coming down here and then jumping up in the air will get you access to the spade card. When you jump up in the air, all of a sudden it randomly appears and you can grab the item and then continue on and go back up the ladder. The path I'll be taking in the game is the most direct path I can think of in order to collect all the items and everything you need and be able to complete the game the quickest. This game has a ton of different pathways for you to take, and without any kind of guide, it'll take you hours and hours and hours to get any progress in the game. Swimming down into this lake and then dropping down to the waterfall, eventually landing down here. Work your way along the platforms and grab this gold bar before jumping down to this platform below. Be sure to jump over the spider and continue over to the right. In case you're wondering, the gold you pick up is really just for points. One thing you have to watch out for with the enemies, of course, is the fact that a lot of the enemies are just too low for your gun, so you'll actually just have to avoid them by jumping over them. Climb up this long ladder for a while until you make it to the brown area, and then go over to the left corner here. Jump up all the way in the left corner, and you'll get the second one of the suit cards. This time is the diamond. Once you have the diamond, jump back to the previous platform with the ladder, and start continuing the climb back up. Be careful here when you make this jump that you watch out for the waterfall, doing a nice jump so you can actually collect another suit card with a diamond on it. There is multiples of the suit balls, and the ones I'm picking up are ones I need in order to complete my path in the game. While exploring through the game regularly, you can run across a ton of these different types of items. But since we only need a few in order to actually complete the game, those are the ones I'm going to be picking up during this run. When you make it here, watch out for the snake, then do a nicely timed jump so you have control of Harry in mid-air and drop down for a long period of time. When you see this frog on the left side, be sure to land on that platform. Now watch out for the spider and start doing the rope swinging. This is easily the glitchiest type of platforming in the game, and you'll have a lot of issues sometimes, as being able to actually grab onto these vines can sometimes be really tricky. You also have to avoid, of course, getting hit by the waterfall as it comes down below, so that doesn't end up dragging you down with it. Climb up this ladder on the far right side and go through the first one of the locked doors. Once you've done so, you can start continuing to swing along these vines. You'll have to walk a pretty good distance here, but walk all the way to the right, up the ladder, and then when you make it up here, be careful that you don't get hit by the spikes that are coming down. Eventually, when you make it up this ladder, you will see finally a different colored set of platforms. Continue over to the right, watch out for the scorpion, and then the bat enemy right afterwards. When you make it up here, time your hit correctly so you can take out the frog, and then go through the locked door. When climbing up this ladder, be sure to grab the giant amount of gold for some huge extra points, and then continue up the ladder itself. When you make it up this ladder, just hold the left button so you can continue running to the left and avoid all the rocks as they fall from the ceiling. When you make it up this ladder, you'll be in kind of a different area. Once again, continue holding left so you can avoid all the rocks as they fall from the ceiling. Sometimes there'll be too many enemies on screen and the game will slow down quite a bit. After the spider enemy, jump to these platforms and then be very careful. The platforming here can get a little bit tricky and you want to time your jumps just right to make it across. Then go down the ladder and use your heart in order to actually go through the door and go to the next part. When you make it over here, a giant stone face will attack you. As soon as it appears, run back over to the left and then climb up the ladder. By doing so, you'll be able to avoid it and continue over to the right for another area. Make the big jump over the gap here and you'll collect the giant diamond. Ride this elevator all the way down to a new area of the cave. When it makes it all the way down here, do a big leaping jump or go down the ladder. Just be sure to land on the platforms below so you can avoid crashing into the spikes. The game can actually glitch and you can get stuck in the spikes sometimes, so you have to be really careful with that. Then climb back up here and watch out for the sparks as they bounce around while you're trying to do platforming. You can actually take these sparks out with the gun, so that is a little bit beneficial. Over here we have another one of the giant stone faces attacking. Walk over to the left and as soon as it appears, once again you run to the right, but instead of climbing up the ladder this time, drop down into the hole. As soon as it goes past, jump out of it and then run to the left as it'll start chasing you again. When you make it over here, grab the gold and then do a nicely timed jump in the right spot and a key should appear. Make sure you grab the key and then climb up the ladder. When you do so, grab a hold of this balloon. Then ride it up to this small platform on the upper left. Here you're going to have to do some more of the vine swinging in the game. After the vine swinging, you can finally climb up this ladder and do a big jump and you can actually get another one of the spade cards. Jump along the top platforms, collecting a little bit of gold along the way. This area here can be really tough at first. Be careful of the jumps as you'll have to time them right so you don't land in the spikes or get hit from the spikes above. You have to do little short jumps in order to make it across. And just for added fun, there is a snake enemy on the far left side. When you make it up this ladder, more falling rocks. Once again, we'll do the same thing we've been doing. Just continue to run past them and you shouldn't have any trouble. Climb up the ladder and use the last diamond soup that we have, and then continue over to the left. Here with some more swinging vines, you'll also have to be careful because if you accidentally mess up with the swinging vines, you'll land in the spikes below. Climb up the ladder and then hit the left button so you can avoid all the falling rocks once again. Be careful though at the very end of that segment though that you don't land in the spikes immediately, or when you make your big jump over those spikes, you don't accidentally hit the spikes in the ceiling. Up here, more falling rocks and some gold to collect. And now for one of the weirdest things in the game. Jump up into this red bird and you'll be teleported to another area of the cave. Looks very similar to the very beginning of the game, but you're actually in a new area. This area is actually essential because we get the potion that we need. The potion is actually used in order to free your niece, so you actually have to collect it. Fall down this big hole here and then jump over to the left side, jump up in the left corner, and the potion will appear. Then climb the ladder right below it, and if you grabbed the key earlier, you can save Quickclaw. After having both of those items now in your possession, start climbing back up the ladder and do some big vine swinging across these gaps. Drop down to the platform below in between the two swinging vines, and then fall down here. After collecting this goal in the left corner, do a jump in that same corner and you'll be teleported back into the main part of the game. Here we have another one of the giant faces attacking you, and there's plenty of ladders this time for you to jump up and climb up, so you can avoid getting hit by the face as it flies by. Jump up here and you can grab this weird item. It's actually the logo for FCI, one of the companies responsible for the game, and it actually represents an extra life in the game. Climb up this ladder after using our last suit, and then walk across the ground here and follow the ghost as it flies all the way across to the left. Follow the ghost till it goes off screen and then jump up in the left corner and you'll be taken to the Dark World, the last area of the game. This is actually the holding place for where our niece is kept. Do a giant leap at the beginning and fall all the way down to the ground located here. Just be careful when you start traveling to the left, you will avoid the enemies. These enemies are a lot tougher than the ones we dealt with before because they move a little bit differently and they're a little bit bigger, as well as you have the guy constantly flying overhead dropping stuff on you. Eventually, moving left, you'll come to a large ladder. Climb all the way up this ladder, watching out for the weird bat enemy along the way. Then get off the ladder to the right and continue moving over to the right, avoiding the gaps, and then climb up the far right ladder. Once in this weird area, climb up, avoiding these enemies the best you possibly can. Climb up this short ladder here, once again avoiding an enemy, and then use the potion automatically on Rhonda in order to save her. Once you save her, the music in the game will actually change. We have everything we need in the game in order to complete it. There is a couple of extra items in the game that actually only really give you points, as well as one that gives you brief invincibility, but we're not going to worry about those items and they're not needed to complete the game. Our goal now though is just to head through and get the best way to get back to the main map of the game to actually complete this game. Climb up this ladder and once again doing your best to avoid the weird tribal-like zombie men that are trying to attack you and take you out. Avoid more flying enemies as you make your way up and then jump over to this short platform on the right. You'll then have to do some pretty tricky vine swinging to get across. After a ton of vine swinging, watch out for the spikes moving up and down from the ceiling. At the end, drop down this gap and then jump up into the upper right corner. You'll be teleported about to where we actually teleported to the Dark World from. This is actually also right near the very beginning of the game. make the jump over the spikes and grab the gold. Then, drop down here and walk a little bit to where the starting point of the game was, and you complete the game. You get your short congratulations screen, you complete the adventure, and you now have the ability to try another world. Basically now the game will restart, and you can play the game over again with all the items placed in different locations. It really isn't any difference in the game, there's no new enemies or anything like that, it's just an added challenge and just as difficult as the first game. If you're wondering though, of course, about this different ending once you complete that second quest, there is none. You get the same exact ending as it says try another world, but in that case, you're just repeating that second world over and over again for as long as you keep playing the game. But with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.